1. This is Pearl Hart, one of the few stagecoach robbers who famously declared that she turned to crime to support her mother. She disappeared after 1928, and no one knows what happened to her. 2. Look at this absurd photo of so many bison skulls from 1892. They were used for food, shelters, and clothing, but the poor animals were killed in such a large amount. 3. What you're looking at is the picture of a man named Judge Roy Bean, who was the self-proclaimed law west of Pecos. He operated a saloon courtroom hybrid and delivered colorful justice. 4. This is a picture of a woman in a mask and bonnet. The date is unknown, but it looks quite creepy. Just goes to show that in the Wild West, there were some interesting people. 5. This is a post-mortem photograph of someone from the Wild West. The man you're seeing no longer exists, and it shows how sad life was back in that era. 6. If you want to hear an inspirational story, then this is Clara Brown, a freed slave who later on became a successful entrepreneur, philanthropist, and pioneer. She was later called Aunt Clara. 7. This is Chief Joseph, a Nez Perce leader who became famous for his retreat and surrender speech. This image was taken in 1911. 8. This Geronimo, the Apache leader who resisted U.S. and Mexican forces for the longest time. Not only was he badass, but he was also the last leader of Apache, who the colonizers had a tough time dealing with. 9. Next up is Sitting Bull, a very popular Hunkpapa Lakota leader, who was a key figure in the Battle of the Little Bighorn. 10. Frank Butner was a sharpshooting partner and husband of the popular Annie Oakley. Both had a tragic future and death. 11. And this is the ever-so-popular Ann Oakley, a sharpshooter and a star of the Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. 12. If you thought you'd seen Clint Eastwood as a badass Western, you should see Buffalo Bill Cody, the showman who popularized the Wild West in his performances. He eats 100 Clint Eastwoods with his swagger. 13. Calamity Jane was a frontierswoman, a sharpshooter, and some say that she was romantically involved with the legendary Wild Bill Hickok. 15. And this is the man himself, Wild Bill Hickok. He was a lawman, a gambler, and a legendary gunslinger. 16. One popular man in the Wild West was Bass Reeves. He was the first black deputy U.S. Marshal west of the Mississippi. 17. This photograph is of Pat Garrett. The image is famous because he killed Billy the Kid. 18. While everyone in the Wild West was known as a mindless freak, this guy was the very epitome of justice. Meet Bat Masterson, a lawman, journalist, and a gambler who kept the peace in Dodge City. 19. On the left side, there's a very normal-looking girl, but when you notice the gun in her hand, things change. This is Belle Starr, a female outlaw, and you can see her horse, since she's a horse thief. Back in the Wild West, she was known as the Bandit Queen. 20. The man you're seeing is the deceased outlaw William Brazen Bill Brazelton. He's wearing a mask, and the photograph was taken in 1878. 21. If you want to see possibly one of the most absurd photos on our list, then fear not, because here we have a face mask and skin hose of cattle rustler, the big-nose George Parrott. 22. Back in the days, even sandstorms had no chill. This happened in Midland, Texas, in 1894. 23. The end of outlaw Rube Burrow. This photograph was taken back in 1890 with his dead body in a coffin. 24. The Wild West was about irony. This is the Dalton gang, one of the most fearsome train wreckers and bank looters who ended in one attack. They are all lying on the floor, dead. 25. Look at these settlers after escaping the Dakota War of 1862. Don't they look like they've seen the devil himself? 26. Next up, we have the aftermath of the OK Corral gunfight in 1881. where we lost the McLaury Bros and Billy Clanton in a very brutal shootout. 27. Jesse James, the man that brought havoc, finally died, and this is the body of him, looking like he was some peacemaker. 28. This strange image was taken in 1870. It's just an eerie portrait. Nothing much to it. The vibes are dark, bleak, and very intimidating. 29. Buffalo Bill Cody's image as he's looking like an artist like he always was. Classy, cool, and sexy. 30. Look at OK Corral after the huge fire erupted in chaos. The photograph is from 1882. 31. People back in the days had no fear. These people were crossing the Gila River in buckboard wagons near San Carlos, Arizona, in 1885. 32. A rider fills his keg from a desert well 30 miles north of Palomas. His horse? Well, the fella is refreshing himself. 33. These band of Apache Indian prisoners are resting beside Southern Pacific Railway in Texas. 34. This is the first house on the present site of Dodge City, Kansas. It was built sometime in August, 1872. 35. Today, poker parties are held in the world's largest casinos, but look at the simplicity of the Wild West. Truly absurd. 36. This little kid is Jimmy McKinn, who was abducted by Geronimo in 1885. When Indians were briefly captured, Jimmy bitterly resisted being returned to his family. So, did the Indians really treat him well? 37. Compared to today, the street view in a typical American frontier town looked way too absurd. 38. This girl was sold to the Mojave tribe as a slave. 5 years later, she returned and joined white society. However, the Mojave tribe already tattooed her chin with a blue symbol. 39. This is the Eskimo medicine man, who was said to be exorcising evil spirits from a sick boy in Alaska back in the 1890s. 40. This is the corpse of Bloody Bill, who was one of the most notorious pro-Confederate guerrilla leaders in the American Civil War. 41. There were quite a few female gunslingers, but look at this beautiful gunslinging woman. You wouldn't see this even in movies today. But this is pure badass and absurd to think about. 42. This was the uniquely absurd style of fashion in the early 19th century. 43. While you think that the sombrero was the most popular headgear choice for the cowboys, it really wasn't. The bowler hat was. 44. The first black soldier who fought against the Native Americans, the Buffalo Soldier, was awarded this honorary title and a Medal of Honor. 45. These are Apache spirit dancers. Each costume represented a different spiritual character, each headdress held some sort of significance, and with each move, there's a story. 46. After a long, bitter conflict, Christie was killed by a lawman. However, by 1918 testimony, it was confirmed that she had been wrongfully accused. 47. The Sioux Nation was one of the most dangerous nations among all native Indian tribes. Look at their fascinating-looking teepees sprawling against all the landscapes. 48. These men came to the West, thinking they would find large reserves of gold, silver, and bronze. However, very few men found a small amount of these minerals, and most would work themselves to death. 49. In the lawless Wild West, even though laws weren't much regulated, these men are still doing an illegal activity showing off their guns. 50. You might have never seen it before, but here are two children of Jesse James, one of the biggest Wild West legends. 51. This is the Sierra Nevada mountain trail. Traveling across the Wild West wasn't easy. Many rich travelers had to hire armed men to protect them on dangerous routes. 52. These are Terry's Texas Rangers, one of the most successful Confederate cavalry regiments of the Civil Wars. Formed in 1861, They were involved in at least 275 engagements and shootouts amongst 7 states. 53. Migration was such a big part of American culture. Here is a couple taking a break in Kansas as they traveled west. 54. This is Spotted Elk, also known as Bigfoot. He was the chief of the Miniconjou, Lakota Sioux tribe. He was given this nickname by a United States Army soldier, but died alongside 152 others at the Wounded Knee Massacre of 1890. 55. This is Myman, a Mojave Native American who worked as a guide and interpreter in Colorado during the 1870s and acted as a guide for the photographer Timothy O'Sullivan. 56. Death Valley is not only one of the hottest places on Earth, but it also once reached a record-breaking 134 degrees Fahrenheit. In 1849, the valley got its English name during the California Gold Rush, after 13 pioneers disappeared attempting to cross the Great Desert. 57. Eureka, Utah was a ghost town founded in 1870 when silver and other ores were discovered in the area. At this point, it was the 9th largest city in Utah, but one by one, the mines shut down, and today it has become a ghost town. 58. This photo shows the dispossessed Navajo people during a long Navajo walk. This walk was so grueling, it had collective trauma on the people and their sense of identity as a people. 59. Ever saw cowboys bathing? I bet not. Till today. 60. These people are playing one of the most popular games that came out of the 19th century gambling hall called the bluffing game. It later evolved into American poker. 61. The saloons you see here are more of gambling houses, brothels, and opium dens. 62. This beauty is Rose Dunn, who fell in love with George Newcomb after being introduced to him by her brothers. However, their love reached an unhappy ending because the Dunn brothers killed Newcomb to collect the bounty on his head. 63. This is the only photo ever captured of American Indians during the war. 64. In 1863, a Minnesota farmer killed a Dakota man picking raspberries. The man was scalped, his nose and ears were stuffed with fireworks, and his body was thrown into a slaughterhouse. Even his head was removed. After 41 days, they learned it was Little Crow, leader during the Dakota War. That's freaking absurd. 65. This is a portrait of Wild Bill Hickok and the first quick draw duel. 66. Black Elf and Elle are featured in this photo. They not only participated in the Battle of the Little Bighorn, but also in the Battle of the Wounded Knee. 67. This rare carte de visite was made from the photo found on Bloody Bill Anderson's body when he was killed by Union soldiers in 1864. 68. This is the Rufus Buck Gang, the only men to hang in Fort Smith for things like assault on women. These 5 men were executed and was the largest mass execution for SA in U.S. history. 69. These are Slaughter's Cowboys, a Texas Ranger during the Civil War before becoming a cattle businessman. 70. Look at this very bold Dead or Alive poster. Isn't that way too much? 71. This is young Jesse James's photo. Who would have thought he would become the biggest outlaw in the coming years? 72. In 1869, the Transcontinental Railroad was finally completed. Just look at the amount of people needed to get the job done. 73. These are people from the Buffalo Bills Wild West show from 1890. None of these people are actually being real. They are performing, showing the American culture to the world. 74. Look at this old mission church in 1873. The photo was taken in Zuni Pueblo, New Mexico. 75. Pyramid and domes at Pyramid Lake. One of the rock ranges looks awfully like a man. 76. General Custer and Colonel Ludlow just chilled after hunting a grizzly in 1874. 77. Another angle of the Dalton gang and how their bodies weren't spared. 78. This is the photo of the body of Jesse James, who was shot in the back by Robert Ford while adjusting a picture. 79. This is the brutal photo of Benjamin Hodges, a black Mexican cowboy who made his living as a con artist in Dodge City. 80. Nobody knows what caused the death of 11 men in Judge Blackhawk's 6 Killers courtroom at Going Snake. The murder took place here, and it looks terrifying. 81. This is Chief Iron Bear from North Dakota in 1866. Look how big and strong he looks. 82. Instead of cars, we had cows, and we sent kids to school. 83. These Ponca Indians were skinning buffalo in 1890. 84. This was one of the traditional dresses that a woman wore. Pretty absurd looking, even for such an ancient culture. 85. This is the Hatfield family, one of the strongest symbols of the American Wild West. This photograph captures the pride of their identity. 86. In one of Billy the Kid's rarest photos, he is playing with his friend in a bar. 87. This is a Wild West prostitute, a rare sight you'll see. 88. Look at these badass cavalry soldiers circa 1889. 89. Lastly, we have miners on their lunch break in Montana. Would you be able to eat in a place like this? And that marks the end of our video. Make sure to subscribe to our channel if you want more Wild West videos like these.